Go again.
3, 2, 1.
Time. Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to the Movement for Life podcast. I am your host, JR, and my faithful co-host, Colby, is somewhere lost in the Hawaiian Islands. So this week, we have brought back one of our favorites. We have Vince Pavia as my co-host this week. Vince, what's up? Welcome.
What's happening, guys? Thanks for having me on, JR.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you on here. You, looks like, unofficially going to your third Masters Fitness Championship, just finished the online qualifier. How are you feeling? And at this point, what's your training looking like?
Well, yeah, I'm surprised actually because I went in this year I wanted to sign up for the qualifier to kind of see where I fell within our group. Because, after the last couple of years, now knowing the guys in the group and kind of where we've all fallen the last few years, I really didn't go in it with many expectations. Like last year, I haven't been training as much as I would typically be training at this point in the year, just because I've been working so much, training other people and working with other people. So my expectations were minimal. And, finding out that I'll most likely qualify again this year for the third time is a little bit of a learning experience because, I went in it with no pressure on myself and I was able to kind of, still kind of get in there this year. So now, as a result of that, the next 12 weeks will be a lot different, deciding to go out there and committing to that. It's a big commitment, with my training and my home life and financially making that commitment to put it all together and go out there again in September.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
So as you talk about the training, it's going to amp up over the next 12 weeks. You're going to be adding in, I'm sure, some more swimming. You're going to be working on that cardio a little bit more. How are you planning on balancing everything that you do with your personal training, with that of your clients, with the relationship you have with your wife? Like, how are you able to pocket in all those necessary things that you need to get done in a 24-hour period?
Man, I'm going to be maximizing my 24 hours. That's for sure. And it takes a full commitment. Like once I get the official invite and decide to go, then it's like, it's going to be 2.5 to 3 hour training sessions every day, broken up between, the morning and the evening. I'm going to be in the pool twice a week. It's going to be tricky to balance, but life is already kind of pretty full. So, some other like little extracurriculars are going to have to be put off to the side. Like we have one trip coming up this week. We're going to go to Hawaii for a few days and decompress and come back and get right to work. So
nice.
It's like this little break, little calm before the storm. And then it's all business.
You're going to Hawaii on Wednesday, and I think Colby's coming back on Thursday. So you guys are going to be like ships passing in the night, actually.
Oh, yeah. He'll be handing me the baton.
So coaching as many hours as you coach a day. And at this point, you're pretty much all personal training. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm mostly one-on-one throughout the week, 6 days a week. And from 7 a.m. to sometimes 8 o'clock at night. I have a couple of windows in there between, like most of my clients are morning and then midday and evening. And so I have a couple of windows in there where I can get my training in and try to throw down a couple of meals.
So how do you find the discipline to then do your training on top of doing all the things you do for your clients?
That's an excellent question. And it's a day-to-day thing. As you know, you're just as busy as I am. To take your tie off and turn around and put your gym shoes on for yourself is probably one of the most challenging things I think you can do as a coach / athlete. The balance between those two worlds, it's a fine line. A lot of people think that, oh, you're a coach, you're in the gym all the time. No wonder you're so fit. It must be so easy. It's quite the contrary. It's like
it is.
Anybody else that has a regular job, if you ask them to spend an extra 2 or 3 hours at their job for themselves, they're going to be like, what are you, crazy? It's 5 o'clock. I'm clocking out. I'm going home. And for us, it's like, okay, if your training session is going to be at 6 a.m. or 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the dead heat of the summer, or you're going to get that last session in at 8 o'clock at night, or Are you willing to turn around and open up your gym bag?
It's tough. It is really
Yeah.
tough. I'm interested, do you have anybody in your life who ever tries to talk you out of continuing to compete? I mean, we are competing because I feel like it's just in our blood. But at this point, does does your wife, does any of your family say, "Hey, why are you still doing this?"
Yeah, no, it's fortunately I don't. Of course, I have some friends that don't necessarily understand what we do or the culture, the lifestyle of what we do. They think a lot of what we do is sometimes circus tricks or lifting really heavy. That they look at that as it can be dangerous, but here we are, and I can, kind of speak for the two of us here. We're approaching our 50s and in pretty good shape. We're making kids chase us around in the gym, so a
Yeah.
lot of people know that this is my life and I love doing it, and they're pretty supportive.
Yeah, I feel thing. So tell me,
Yeah,
how
it
many
definitely
hours a
helps.
day do you coach?
Oh man, right now between 6 and sometimes 9. Of course, it varies throughout the week, and especially in the summertime with a lot of my clients kind of, they have their vacations, and quite a few of my clients have kids, so they're out of school now, so they'll be kind of in and out. But on average, I'm doing between 6 and 9 sessions a day.
All right, so tell me, would you describe is the perfect balance between a coach and an athlete? And I think that for a majority of the higher level athletes, they don't have a full-time job. So we are kind of the exception where we're working a lot of hours in a week, and we just so happen to be working in a gym. So that's where we then go to train. So, there's like a little bit of, our work life kind of flushes into our training life because it's in the same building. So what does like that perfect balance for you look like?
Man, that's a hard target to hit, you
This
know.
probably changes daily also.
A- Absolutely, and it can change at the drop of a hat if you get someone who cancels or needs to move their time, or you have to move around, especially when you're moving between multiple locations. That travel time and those drive hours are time that you could be either using for your training or eating. And so sometimes I'll be eating while I'm in transit. If I had a
Yes.
stationary bike in my car, I would be using that between
Yeah.
gym appointments, but
Yeah.
the balance, as you were asking about that, there isn't any. And this is the way I look at it. It's like my people, my training, and my family life. It's those three things. And I'm negotiating those three things every day leading up to a competition. And obviously, and it helps to have support at home. So once I'm into something like this, I discuss it with Ashley and we make a decision together. Is this going to be something that I can do and something I
Hmm.
can focus on and I'll have your support with? And if she's a yes, it's 100% yes. And then once we get that information, then I can start paying attention to my clients and my training and really dialing in that focus. And the big part of recovery that comes into all of this too. Like I got to make sure I'm getting 8 or 9 hours of sleep every day, and I got to make sure that I'm fueling properly. And so once you start factoring in those things, there's not much time for anything else.
I'd like to know, what if she says no?
Oh yeah. If she said no and I was really dead set on it, I would have to really kind of sit with that. And we never have had that conflict to this day. We haven't
Great.
yet. If she did, she'd probably have a really good reason. And I
Sure.
would most likely know that going in and be like, all right, if it's not good for the group, like us and our animals that we have at home, the two dogs
Yeah.
and a cat that we take care of, if it isn't good for the group, then it's probably not good for me.
That's great. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that you you have the perfect kind of life balance. You have a supportive partner. And by the way, for those who don't know your wife Ashley, she's very fit as well, so she understands how important it is to go to the gym, and she has her own goals. So it's not like she doesn't have her own thing going. So that definitely helps the dynamic in understanding how important this is for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm super grateful for her support. And, she's been doing a lot of lifting here recently, and we're looking for a weightlifting meet for her possibly later on this year.
Yes.
And the moment she decides and makes a decision to do something like that, man, I am all in with her and will be so
Yeah.
excited because she is a very good lifter. She's a much, much better lifter than I am. And most people I
Both of
know,
us.
she's very technically sound and really
Yes.
strong. And, I I admire her work ethic.
But she has not quite agreed to do a partner competition with you, though.
Oh no, yeah, because right now she's, doing a lot of lifting, so she's not doing any conditioning, and she knows if she agrees to do that with me, it'd be a rough go for her. I'll be waiting on her, so she's
Yeah.
big into her lifting right now.
That's great. Well, I know you're super competitive. This is, I feel like just a part of your DNA, but is there something in your past that initially sparked competition for you? You've spoken in the past about how you got into fitness, working out in the garage with your dad, but was there really a
Yeah.
moment in your life that you can remember thinking, oh, competition, this is something that I could really get into?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As far back as I can remember, from playing football in the playgrounds and baseball and basketball and soccer, I was big into team sports as a kid. So growing up and having these moments like in little league, there were a couple times I remember hitting home runs and my dad being there and how excited he got. And that just made me want to do that more, and a couple times in high school, there were a few moments where I had some big moments playing football and baseball, and what that felt like, it just created this drive within me that's carried on until this day. I started being a bodybuilder in my late teens, early 20s, and getting on stage and doing that. And I mean, just being competitive is, I think it could be an aspect of being a younger sibling too. Everything was a competition at home when I was a kid, like
Yeah,
just shooting paper balls into a garbage can, or, who could run around the kitchen table the fastest, or that
right.
stuff's been part of my DNA as long as I can remember.
Me also being a youngest child, I totally understand that because you're always trying to keep up with the older ones. And then when you find something that you're actually better at them at, then it really just like kind of fuels the fire a little bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely, man. Because there were a lot of times where I wasn't better at my sister or her friends. They were all like 6, 7 years older than me. So, of course, they had size and speed on me. And anytime I could get a little win, I enjoyed it.
So you started off with competition being something that kind of gave you a thrill, and you could see that it made your father proud. But then as you continued with working out, whether it was bodybuilding, later on getting into CrossFit, what were some of the psychological benefits that you started to notice from working out?
Oh, yeah, man. Just the standard in the way that I work. And I kind of take that into my training now. You and I have talked about this in the past about using workouts for training as opposed to competing in every workout. You know,
Yeah.
in my workouts now, you know, the standard of my repetitions is something I'm thinking about. My squat depth, hitting the target with a wall ball, standing all the way up on a clean,
Yep.
catching a squat snatch in the squat position. Those things are something I really think about, day in and day out now in my training.
So what are you looking at helping a client with when they come in and they're struggling with their fitness? Is there something that you utilize personally that you try to teach or share with them? I'm sure every individual client's going to be different, but do you see an overall trend of things that you're trying or things that you've learned and now you're trying to just kind of share that information?
Oh man, yeah. When it comes to the crossover with clients and fitness, you know, there's so many things about just walking through the door of a gym for people that it can be intimidating. It's humbling, it's still, even for me, anytime I do anything with handstand walks around people that can walk, it's humbling. And, to be able to sit there and put your ego aside and just stay in your lane. That's something I really try to impart to the people that I work with. This is your process. You're here. You can celebrate the victory that you just came through the door
Sure.
today. You're doing
Yes.
more than most people will. Most people won't give them the shot of being able to walk through the door and learn something new, especially people that are, older. The older we get, the harder it is, I think, and especially when it comes to fitness and the insecurities that people have with body image and their ability to even perform simple movements.
Of
A lot
course.
of it is just inspiring and encouraging people to understand that they're much more capable than what they think they are. They just have to put in a little work.
And they need a supportive network around them as well. I mean, we are fortunate that we have partners who understand the importance of working out. I mean, when they met us, they knew we were trainers, they knew that we were coaches, but as they get to know us, they know that it's really important that not just because we like to be in shape, mentally being in the gym is so important. So then what are tips that you give your clients on finding or building a supportive fitness network?
Yeah, I think that's something that's built over time and with familiarity. You know, I can't help but think that you have so much experience with this with children, and I'm sure that that translates to adults really easily, because something you can teach to a child is something you can kind of reiterate with an adult, getting them to feel confident and comfortable and introducing them to the culture of a gym, people that are coming in and out. And that's one of the things I think in the beginning, when I first start working with clients that aren't used to going to the gym, I like to incorporate the environment. And especially when we're around other people doing group training, it's easy.
Yeah.
Just by me saying hello to other people and asking them about themselves while I'm working with my clients, showing them that, hey, you belong here just like anyone. You can see how easy it is to just kind of relate and talk to
Yes.
people, and trying to model that example for them so they can see what it looks like.
Um, if we're looking at your own training, what is something that you really enjoy doing yourself? And then give us something that you absolutely can't stand, but you know that you have to do it.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, there's nothing like being able to do something that you couldn't do in the past. For example, as you know, I've struggled walking on my hands for years. Uh, and there have been these moments. Just the other day, I've been getting on my hands a lot more. And I had 2 5-foot increments that I was able to manage. And that, just those little 2 5-foot increments of being able to walk on my hands. I'm 48 years old, you know, and still there's a part of me that doesn't want to have to do things I'm not good at. But when I do, I open myself up to being, vulnerable and teachable. And I just do what I'm told by my other coaches and my peers, and things start working. Man, it's this process of like practice and then getting better at it and then having fun with it. And that is something that's still attractive to me. I still, anytime there's running in a workout, or anytime I have to get in the pool, I got in the pool last week because I knew that I better start getting in there now. And as
Yep.
soon as I got in the pool, I wanted to get out. I mean, and I had to discipline myself to be like, just start swimming and commit to being here for 45 minutes. When the clock says, I started at 4 o'clock. When the clock says 4:45, you can leave. And you know what? When it said 4:45, I got out of the pool, but I didn't get out at 4:40. And I think that
Right.
those little connections over time can make a big difference.
And your favorite thing to do?
Man, I love weightlifting. I love powerlifting, squatting, deadlifting, benching, all those things. And I love hanging from the rig. We at our
Yeah.
competitors club on Saturday, we were doing max effort gymnastics work with your uh, the movement that you're not as great at. And so the coaches there picked chest to bars for me. It wasn't
Okay.
muscle ups or toes to bar or strict
Sure.
handstand push-ups. They know that I have a problem kind of cycling through chest to bar. And man, I was doing sets of 20. and it was feeling really, really good. I'm paying the price a little bit today. I'm sore, but I love hanging from the rig.
Why do you think that handstand walks are so challenging for you?
Great question. It's mental more than anything,
Are you afraid to
because
fall?
sometimes it's being afraid to fall, but it's also being afraid to commit to kicking up. When you kick up into a handstand, and I watch these children do it all the time. They don't have any fear when they kick up. They kick up so
Well,
hard they
they don't
fall
know any
over.
better.
Yes, and
They don't
that's
know what
that's
could
really
happen, okay? We know.
yeah, I do. Yes, I've seen it and I've done it. And so, I think the hardest part is just getting over myself and kicking up with confidence and not being afraid to fall
That's
over
a
and
that's
over
a
and over.
hard lesson for adults to learn because we know that when we fall, we don't always just get up. And, having even the smallest of injury, which sets us out of our training or our daily life, our work, if we can't get up and move, we don't get paid because we have to actually physically do a job. And though we are not lifting people all day long, necessarily spotting, we are physically have to be there and we have to, give everything to the client. So it can be really challenging. I mean, I love gymnastics and I still want to be able to flip and do certain things, but I know that if I even do one back handspring or back flip the wrong way on a certain day, I can't stand up all the way for 3 days. And I love doing it and I can still do it, but the payoff is, do I lose a couple days of being able to function at my capacity or not? So it can be a roadblock for sure. And I've seen a lot of adults really struggle with handstand push-ups, handstand walks, because I think that's probably always in the back of their mind. What if?
Yeah, and I think a big part of, you know, there's a huge health aspect to health and fitness. When people start getting into fitness and they start training and they start exercising and they start enjoying the results and benefits of that, it's hard to remember you have to rest. You have to listen to your body. If there's some days where if I'm kicking up and I'm just not feeling it, I got to shelve it for the day and do something else and come back to it. It's consistency that wins out over time. And, you know, as I've aged, and just as you were saying, my ability to stay healthy is something that I prioritize, because if I hurt myself, then there's no competing, there's no training, and there could potentially be no working for me where I have to
Right.
shut myself
Yes.
down. And I cannot do that. So every day, if I prioritize my health, health comes before fitness. Fitness helps my health, and so if I remember that order and I prioritize things that way, then I can stay healthy for longer periods of time, which I think is something that we're all after.
Hey, that lesson right there translates directly to probably how you live your life, prioritizing what is important. It doesn't just go for the things that you're doing in the gym. It also means that the things in your personal life with your relationship, you have to prioritize those. So, how do you use the things that you or that mentality from the gym? How does that go into your personal life?
That's right. And that's a great question. How you do anything is how you do everything, and the things that I'm committed to in my life, I'm fully committed to. And that's something that over the last 10 years or so, I've really kind of been able to, you know, stand firm on as I've aged. Time is the most valuable thing that we have. And so the things in my life that I commit to, my health, my fitness, my spiritual life, my marriage, taking care of these animals that we have that we're, taking care of, and my training, my fostering, my relationships, my friendships, those things are a priority to me. And so I'm working really hard at those aspects every day.
What do you think your single biggest mistake fitness wise in your life has been?
Oh man, that I didn't do something sooner. Like, I have a lot of clients with children, and I immediately tell them, get them into gymnastics. It
Yeah.
translates to so many things in life. It really does. Like, get them moving their body, get them being confident in groups. Even we're not asking them to have their kids be professional athletes or go to the Olympics. Just asking them that there's so many things about, and when it comes to fitness, I wish I would have done more gymnastics as a younger person. I wish I would have gotten more into the technical side of things as a younger person. I got into muscles and strength really early on, and that was something I put a lot of value on. And sure, I've gotten some of the benefits of that as I've aged, with being strong and and looking fit, but the technique aspect of things, I would have definitely dialed more of that in.
I feel like we're on like very opposite sides of that spectrum because I got into lifting weights later in life and I grew up doing gymnastics as you all know, but like you and we train a lot together and we often have said if we could just take ourselves and put them as one person, we would be such an amazing athlete, but the things
Yes.
that I tend to be really good at are the things that you struggle with and you're the other way and then we have things that we are commonly very good at. Like I would say in the majority of the gymnastic skills, like both of us are at, I feel like at the same point. The muscle ups, the toes to bar, like we're very, very complementary there. But on the opposite spectrum, you are always like lifting more weight. And when it comes to cardio, or like handstand walking, I'm on the other side. So I feel like I should have gotten into weights a lot longer or a lot sooner. But I think my biggest regret is not asking for help sooner in my adult life trying to learn things. I always thought that I could teach myself how to do a lot of things and it has resulted in me learning bag technique when it came to Olympic lifting. Just ask for help. That's like the biggest
Oh yeah.
thing. And that was something I struggled with in life in general for a very long time.
Yeah, I truly believe coaches need coaches.
It's
No
true.
matter how long you've done this, how far into the game you are, we need mentors, professionally, of course, but also as athletes. I cannot coach myself. I can to a certain degree, but even when I'm training, I hear other coaches' voices in my head about the ways to move or how to move
Sure.
or when to take a break. And, I'm just a firm believer that we're always learning and we'll always need other coaches.
Well, in the moment when we are doing something, we aren't the best judge of what we should be doing to make a quick correction or even making the best judgment call because, like we are not able to see from the outside. Having a coach there saying you're going too fast or you need to slow it down or whatever. I mean, I think that we're still at a point where we could use that guidance to maximize what we can do. I mean, we've been doing this for a good amount of time, but I feel like I'm always going to need someone to kind of be there and give me extra pointers on how I can maximize what I can do, especially when it comes to things I'm not that great at because I'll go all in and if it's something I'm not super great at, I'm going to crash and burn toward the end versus like using a better judgment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the most talented athletes in the world, they have a team of people around them. No man's an island. And it takes a lot of people to create someone really good at what they do.
So, what advice would you give somebody who's just starting to work out? Maybe they're an adult, they never did any sports as a child, but they want to get into just moving. What is the first thing that you would tell a client that comes to you? What kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, it depends on where their current fitness level is at. Like, can they walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded? You have to, as a coach, you really have to kind of assess who you're dealing with. But in a lot of cases, if they can just start moving, like I had a heavy set client a few years back that had never done anything in the gym. And I told him, I want you to come and see me for 3 half-hour sessions every week. And in between, I want you to start walking around the block. And I want you to start walking around the block this week just once. Next week, we're going to go twice. And then I want you to start keeping track of how long it takes you to get around the block. And then you're going to start trying to just get around the block a little quicker. Like
Right.
just getting people moving and getting them through the door is 90% of the work that we're going to do. We can get them in there and then they can start having fun and enjoying fitness. Then we've got somebody that we've changed for life. A lot of times, like, I'll start working with somebody who has experience and they don't come to the gym with a water bottle. If I can
Yeah.
get this person to start carrying a water bottle, I'm going to change their
Yes.
life. They don't value hydration. Like those little things that people think they're going to come into the gym and learn how to squat 400 pounds or run a 6-minute mile. Man, you need to start carrying a water bottle. We need to doing some of these basics. If you can't get that down, then all these other things are going to suffer. They're going to just take you a lot longer to accomplish. So
That's a great point.
if I can get a water bottle in everybody's hand, I've done my job for the rest of their life. And everything else after that's a bonus.
So, looking toward your future goals, what does Vince want to accomplish in the next year?
Yeah, great. I want to stay healthy. Of course, I want to train for this Masters Fitness Collective, this championship in September, and just take with me the best representation of myself and my coaches that I train with and for, and so that's really the short-term goal. A year from now, I really just want to be able to maintain my fitness. The fitness spectrum as we age, you hit this peak and then there's this inevitable decline. But as we see it, you can hit that peak and hold on to it for a long time. So if I can maintain my fitness and be close to where I am now next year, I think that's really as good as it's going to get.
That's a great plan. Just being consistent and continue what you're doing because you're doing a great job, man.
Yeah, thanks. And what about you? What's your next year look like?
Man, well, as far as fitness goes, I want to continue being able to move without being injured. Feel like I have made huge strides on maintaining a healthier body while increasing weights, which has been a problem in the past. So I feel really happy and I feel like I found a way to be successful and continuing to see those numbers climb, although at a much slower pace, but that's what it's going to be. I'm really happy with where I'm at in my training. I see improvements. I'm moving better. I recover faster. I can't complain at this point. What's going on?
Absolutely. And a year from now, we're both going to be staring at 50.
Yeah. When do you turn 49, by the way?
November 15th. So one more, a year, about a year and a half left of being in my 40s. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to being one of the fittest 50-year-olds around, just like you.
Yeah.
So
How do you feel about turning 50? What does that feel like?
I'm okay. Every time that I've turned another decade, like I remember 30 and 40, my 20s were horrible. They were just such a struggle. And
Same.
I remember turning 30 and feeling, a certain maturity about being 30. And I remember turning 40 and feeling pretty good about it. And I don't expect 50 to be any different. I see 50 as like a milestone age. Some people don't get to see it. And so, and especially some people don't get to see it and feel healthy. And at the trajectory that I feel like I'm on, that you're on, we're going to be here leading the way for people that don't know what it's like to turn 50 and be fit and feel healthy. And I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I can speak for everybody that I know who knows you. You're definitely an example of, somebody who has a hard work ethic. You have the heart of gold. I'm very thankful that I have you in my life, and I'm sure all the clients that you have feel the same way.
Man, I appreciate you too, JR. We're just, reflections of each other, man. And we're
That's
doing
right.
this thing to the best of our ability every day.
Tell all of our listeners where they can find you in case they want to get in touch with you, either training or just kind of see what you're up to.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me. My Instagram, I have two. One is VP at vpstrengthandconditioning.com. And the other is Vinny P94. You can see my dogs, my cat, and my fit wife there.
A wife that's fitter than all of us.
That's right. She's a beast.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to be watching you as you train over the summer, and we wish you all the best of luck at the Masters Fitness Championships that happen in September.
Yes. Last week of September.
Wonderful.
Appreciate
All
you,
right.
man. Thanks, JR.
Of course, we always enjoy having you here. Hey, folks, if you enjoy the podcast, please make sure that you rate and you subscribe, leave comments below, and until next time. Emmanuel, that was so good. Go again.
3, 2, 1. Time.